And welcome again. Welcome into 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan, way down yonder. Way down yonder at the other end of the broadcast table, there she is, waving and grinning like a
beauty
cat.
pageant wave.
Is that? Hey, you're
elbow,
that's
elbow,
good.
wrist.
Did you do that when you were in your younger days?
No, I was way too insecure.
Oh yeah. Well, Ruben wasn't. Ruben won Mr. Radio.
Sure.
Yeah. 2014. I don't know whether you knew that or not.
Mr. Radio.
Mr. Radio.
I like
yeah.
that.
And
Mr.
we bring our ace of the airways, Rapid Ruben Wright.
A good evening, everybody.
And you didn't really win. No.
I've never won anything.
No. But you've been runner-up in many of our hearts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Hardest worker.
Yeah, definitely.
Most likely to succeed.
That makes me, just you saying that makes me feel good. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to talk about feelings?
Well, we said we're going to focus on feelings and thoughts all week long here on Strategies for Living. And we started yesterday with what's a feeling, what's a thought, what's the difference, what does it matter? We talked about how to listen to your emotions, and we're going to go further with that today. We started with, okay, here are some ideas to begin to listen to your emotions. We'll get into some specific emotions and feelings today. Quick test. Do you remember the difference between a feeling and an emotion and a thought? Don't answer that yet. We'll come back and answer that.
I was just about to answer.
Yeah, I know. And we'll also, if we have time today, talk about how to sit with painful emotions. So all of that ahead here on Strategies for Living. We are presented by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. They've been helping individuals and families for 60 years now. We are also brought to you by Milestones Counseling Center, by Resilient House, by Jerry Anderson, State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, and by Jacob's Well, Inspirational Books and Gifts. We'll be back to review feelings, thoughts. What's the difference?
Is it a test?
It's a test.
Clear.
If we're talking addiction prevention, education, and treatment in Shreveport-Bossier for 60 years, we're talking about CADA. Let's talk about addiction. Let's talk about treatment. Let's talk about getting your life back. The Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, CADA, has been helping individuals and families in Shreveport and Bossier City for 60 years now. CADA provides intensive residential treatment as well as outpatient services too. CADA treats women with children, pregnant women, adolescents, veterans. CADA has helped thousands and thousands.
Web designer?
I have not yet. I need to call him back. You know, he didn't call me for a couple of days, and he called me. I was about to walk into session, and I just haven't stopped to call him back. So I need to do that. I did hear from Dana, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she won't have her budget until mid-July. She very much wants to do it. The only question is there money in the budget to do it? So we'll know mid-July. But she said, yeah, love your proposal, love the idea of Christus, co-sponsoring, and so
Sweet.
I'm excited.
Our next doc we need to get on is I want to get Dr. Parker.
Dr. who?
Parker.
Oh, okay.
And that would make Dana happy because he makes
What's a feeling? What's a thought? What's the difference? Welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back Into Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan, PLPC Carla McCormick. So, this is a test. Do you remember? Do you remember what we proposed yesterday was the difference between a feeling, a thought, and an emotion?
Well, let me see. A feeling is actually a physical sensation.
Bingo.
So if
It's
I'm
something in the body, isn't it?
right,
Yeah.
so if I'm hungry, that's not really a feeling. It's the feeling is my stomach's growling and it's getting tight and
Yeah, hungry is actually a thought that labels the feeling. We
Okay.
use it, so and of course there's that cycle in the brain: feeling, thought, feeling, thought, feeling, thought. Because both of our feelings, which are developed in the womb, and that part of the brain develops in the womb. When we're born, we're perfectly capable of feeling, for good reason, but we're not capable of thinking.
Wait, I read a quote the other day that said, "Our brains are designed to keep us alive.
Yeah.
They don't give a bleep about our happiness."
That's a pretty accurate quote.
Yeah, so they're not worried about whether we're happy or not, or that's for us to work on.
Right.
Our brains are just about keeping us alive.
Absolutely. So we've got this basic feeling thought thing happening in the brain, and we people use emotion. For me, emotion is energy in motion. It's that combination. It's that feeling thought combination as the brain develops that begins to go on. If that goes haywire, that's really what a panic attack is, right?
Well, so
feeling thought, just going a million miles an hour.
because
out of
those
control.
thoughts can be irrational.
They can be, yes. Thoughts can be both rational and irrational, and that's part of what we have to figure out. Okay, which am I having? Which is which? Yeah. Now, most of us get stuck because we put a lot of our energy into the things that trigger us, and it kind of takes us off, if you will, where the action really is, which is in this cycle of feelings and thoughts in the brain, along with the operating system, what we call the ego, or the operating system, which is the whole compilation of all the messages and beliefs and stories that we have compiled or have been actually installed into us at first. We get kind of programmed like a computer. We may put DOS in the computer, and it runs completely in the background. We don't ever see it, but it's there, and it's running the whole show. Well, the operating system and the ego is kind of like that.
Well, and those beliefs can be things that, most of them are what people gave us, our parents,
A lot of
society.
them are people, people that care about us, and people that cared for us, and caregivers and teachers and society even as a whole. Religions, we get them from a lot of different places, Carla. And the ones that run maybe deep in the background, perhaps come from way back when, maybe in the first 2 to 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, before we're really conscious of this ability to think for ourselves. Yeah.
So basically, if we're going to continue with the computer metaphor, basically when we pay attention to our emotions and figure out our belief systems and what they are and what they're not, we're kind of defragging our computer.
In a way, yeah, that's a very, very good metaphoric extension.
Okay. Because that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get all of those irrational thoughts that got caught in there for no reason,
Right.
mixed in with the rational. We're trying to get rid of those.
Absolutely.
Like,
So yesterday, just again to summarize, what we said was that we have to become familiar with listening to our emotions. We're generally not taught this process as children, and instead maybe we avoid or dismiss our emotions. Maybe we've even convinced ourselves that emotions are inconvenient or they're useless, and they're not at all.
I had a client today say, I always thought that listening to my emotions and putting myself first was selfish.
And see, I think it's exactly the opposite of that. I think it's selfless. But you can't give what you don't have. So
Right.
it all begins with yourself. And so if you want to be empathic, if you really want to reach out, if you really you have to give to yourself first. The master teacher Jesus, when pressed, what are the greatest commandments? What did he say? Love God, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, no criticism at all to any Christian denominations, but perhaps you could say we, as a whole, maybe we do a good job at 2/3 of what he says. We emphasize a lot in our Christian religions about loving God. We emphasize a lot about loving our neighbor. The question that I have for all of us is, do we talk enough about loving ourselves? Do we teach enough about loving ourselves? But that's what the man said, and maybe because it was very crystal clear to him that you can't give what you don't have. If I desperately want to give you a drink of water because I see you thirsty, but I have no water, I can't give you a drink of water,
Right.
It's impossible. So love your neighbor as you love yourself. It really is sponsored by how much you love yourself. That's why it's not selfish to learn to love yourself. It's selfless.
So if I know what I'm feeling and I know what I'm thinking and I've processed my emotions and know how to process my emotions, then I can love you better when you're having those emotions?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And when not, and all in between. But we've got to stay with the emotion. We've got to understand that the emotions are there. We've got to try to identify. We're gonna dive into that this evening. But you've got to try to identify what we're experiencing, and then make a choice and a decision to stay with that emotion, to sit with it. But you do that without judgment. Again, judgment gets us off kilter real quick. So what we're doing is we're not judging what we're feeling. Instead, we're just simply observing what we're feeling. And we accept whatever that is. Because many times we say to our clients, feelings aren't right, feelings aren't wrong. They're just feelings. So whether it's sadness or whether it's anxiety or any other quote-unquote negative emotion that we might come up with, we sit with it without judgment, because to judge it immediately takes us off the path.
Well, once I judge it, then I'm gonna hit a trigger, and then I'm back in
the cycle.
Yeah.
Back in the cycle again.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Ruben gave me the nod. Don't do that. Don't go there. Okay, so the easiest way to then listen to our emotions and build that skill is to identify the physical sensations. What am I feeling here in my body, and what's it associated with? What emotion, energy and motion, is it associated with? Again, we're talking the combination now. Emotion is the combination of the feelings and the thoughts together.
Okay.
Yeah. So identify the physical sensation. That'll help me, identify what's the feeling thought going on here. And then it would be helpful, we said yesterday, to scale it. To 1 to 5, 1 to 10. I suggested SUDS. We use SUDS a lot. Subjective units of disturbance. 1 to 10 is real easy. Okay, you're feeling anxiety right now. Where is that anxiety? Is it a 1? Is it a 5? Is it a 7? Is it a 10? To be able to put a sign, an intensity, already begins to put some power back into your court, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is empowering.
Yeah. So it puts you back into the driver's seat of your emotions, helps you determine an appropriate course of action, because you're probably going to take a different course of action with a 10 of anxiety versus a 3, right?
Or a 2.
Or a 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you need to, use a grounding technique. We talked about a couple yesterday. You suggested simply something that we have all the time, our breath, breathing. I suggested feet on the floor. Feel your feet wherever you are. Feel them touch the floor. That's anything that are if you're sitting in a chair, notice your body. Notice your body in that chair, your feet on the floor. That's all of those are grounding techniques. Fun thing, we might even assign characters to our emotions,
The little gremlins.
The little gremlins are we mentioned the movie yesterday that even had little dolls that they put out for for anger and for happiness and all of that. But whatever, you can even assign characters. Again, more self-empowerment, and then stay with them, explore them. All of those things, I think, can be important and kind of summarize where we went yesterday. So today, you and I are gonna tackle from bitterness to resentment, all the way to anxiety and sadness, and many in between. What's the emotion? What could it be saying to us? What's it speaking to us?
So if I have that emotion, what can I learn from that
There you
about
go.
myself?
Feelings and emotions today on Strategies. Stay with us. We'll be back.
It used to seem to me that my life went on too fast.
There's a delay from the time. Is that on purpose? Is that
I don't know. I mean, I guess there would just have to be.
You got a smile so bright. You know you could have been a candle.
Well, you must be feeling good then. Welcome back.
Dancing down here.
Dancing down and just smiling bright. Welcome back, folks, into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. The smiling, happy-faced PLPC Carla McCormick
I am
and
happy.
marriage and family therapist David McMillan. We're dealing with thoughts and feelings this week. And so what's a feeling? What's a thought? What's the difference? And we tackled that yesterday. Today we are listening to our emotions. So a good friend of mine passed on this list that I think is worth examining. Let's start with bitterness.
Ooh.
What would bitterness as an emotion? Again, keep in mind the emotion is the combination of the feeling and the thought. So it's totally inside of us. It's energy, energy in motion. So bitterness, what could that possibly show us? What could that point us to, Carla?
Oh, I'm hanging on to something.
Yeah. And the other side of that then is it could show me where I need to heal. So I'm holding on to something. That's judgment, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's holding on tight. So, I could be judging myself, I could be judging someone else, but in any case, judgment is hanging on tight. So, bitterness, we're talking sitting through, staying with the emotion, the energy in motion. Bitterness can point us and show us this is where healing needs to be. This is where the healing needs to take place.
And I think the key point of what you just said a minute ago, or one of the key points, is that this bitterness could be directed outside at you,
Yes.
or it could be directed back in at myself.
Or both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
Or sometimes you can just be bitter with everything in the whole world.
Yeah.
Then that's really something you need to look at.
Absolutely. Okay, resentment. So, when we look at resentment, I don't even the word resentment.
I know.
Yeah. And look, even break it down. Resentment. I'm rescinding. Resentment shows you where where you're living in the past. Where you're living in the past and not allowing the present to be as it is. I've said this before on the program, but we all psychologically live in a 3-room house. And we only have 3 rooms psychologically. And the one of them is the past.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing is, the past, we got to understand the past is an enticing room to go into and to be in, because it's like someone turned the lights on. I can see so clearly if it's the past, right?
Right.
And the problem, though, is in there, I can see very clearly, but I can't move anything.
Everything's stuck.
Everything is stuck. Even a paper clip, even a simple paper clip may as well weigh 100,000 pounds, because in the past I'll never move it. So we live in this 3-room house, and we've got a choice. What room am I going to be in? If I'm in one room, I can't be in the other 2 rooms. Obviously, the other rooms are the future, and in the future there's a lot of fogginess. It's cloudy.
It's kind of scary.
It's kind of scary. If I stay too long in there, I'm going to get anxious. I'm going to get afraid.
Right.
Have you ever had have you ever been driving in your own neighborhood in heavy fog?
Yeah.
You know right where you are. Maybe you're only 1 or 2 streets from the house, But how do you feel in that heavy fog?
Very anxious.
Yeah. But in the present, that's the big room. All the tools, your workbench is in there. You can make changes. If I want to move the paper clip in there, I can.
Right.
And I can even throw it at Reuben if I want to.
Hey, be nice to Reuben.
I'll be nice to Reuben. He's worked hard today. but I can change things in there, and then if Ruben throws it back at me, I can catch it.
Right.
You know, but I can't do that in the past or the future. I can only do that in the present.
So
right?
if I'm resentful, then that shows me that I'm living in the past.
Yep, and I'm not allowing the present to be as it is.
Okay.
Okay, and one of the things that we have to do is we have to accept what is. A lot of human suffering, a tremendous amount of human suffering comes from our inability or unwillingness to accept what is.
What is
What is now? What what's
has
in front?
happened?
What has happened? What we're experiencing.
instead of shooting on ourselves?
Shooting on ourselves or shooting on others. Yeah, exactly. You know, you should have done this or you shouldn't have done that. And that's what you're calling shooting on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, discomfort. What does this show us?
That you need to pay attention right now to what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're being given the opportunity to change, to do something different than you typically do it.
Okay. All right.
That's kind of huge.
That's massive. Yeah. And it points right to what we're talking about in terms of what a feeling truly is, because a feeling, and especially the emotion, the combination of the labeling system, the feelings and the thoughts, it can be uncomfortable. That's why so many of us either run away from it, we won't sit with it for a little while, or we'll suppress it, you know.
But pain is pain. I mean, we keep talking about pain is a good thing. Because if
Well,
I
yeah.
don't feel pain, if I step on a tack
Right.
or step on something sharp and I cut my foot and I don't feel that, then I'm going to have a way worse injury. I'm going to bleed to death.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have an infection. I'm going to have all these bad things. So
Absolutely.
if I'm feeling discomfort, if I'm just not right,
Right.
then that's the signal, hey, what am I going through? What's going on? And what do I need to do to fix it?
Yeah. 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 Exactly. So pain is purposeful, but many of us will do, especially with the psychological and emotional pain, we'll go to enormous effort
To not feel
to
it.
not feel it. Yeah, and we'll put stuff in our body that we know we shouldn't be putting in our body.
Food, alcohol, drugs.
Yeah, yeah. Our behaviors,
Relationships, yeah.
Yeah, well, all kinds of things. We can become out of balance. We can then become addicted to all kinds of things out in our world. So discomfort, like you say, shows you where you need to pay attention.
That I'm going to put an asterisk by that one.
Anger. Now, this is a biggie because we live in an angry world, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what this actually does is it shows you where your passion is. It shows you what you're passionate about, where your boundaries are, and what you believe, what you believe needs to change about the world. So anger leads us right into examining, if you stop and think about what we've talked about, especially yesterday with the operating system, we touched on it again today, reminded us, is there something in that operating system? Is there something installed there that might be fueling this that I may want to really examine and take a look at, again, this is work.
What about the fact that anger hides other emotions?
I think that's I think it's true for men and women, but I think it can especially be true for men. And you probably deal with this some in your men's group, I would suspect. I've always called anger an umbrella emotion for men especially. It can be for women too. But, it's like what's underneath there. Anger is what's okay to show.
Right.
And little boys especially are taught this in a lot of ways. Suck it up. It's not okay to cry. Big boys don't cry. All kinds of messages that we give to little boys. Get back out there on the field. Dust that off and get back out there. All kinds of things like that. And so, it's okay to go out there and show anger, but it may not be okay to show fear or to show hurt. And that, those are some things that can be underneath that umbrella of anger.
Well, because the biggest message that boys receive is if you have emotions, you're weak.
Yeah.
And you can be anything but weak.
Yeah.
You can be mean. You can be angry,
Angry.
but don't be weak.
But don't be weak. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, because and again, we know this not to be the case, but again, down in the belief system of even well-meaning parents who
Right.
program this in, it's like that fear showing hurt or showing fear equals weakness. That's not true, but if that's
No.
programmed in, then that's going to run and run and run until I change it. Yeah.
But first you have to know it's there. You have to know it's
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Disappointment. What does this show?
Oh, that you tried for something and you didn't give it. And
You didn't give in to apathy. Yeah. That you're still caring. You're still in there. You tried, but but you didn't get there. You didn't get there.
oh, I get it. So I tried to do it,
Yeah.
but I didn't get there. But I cared.
Yeah. So you didn't go apathy. You
I
didn't
didn't
go to.
oh, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So this is good. When I'm disappointed, that should show that I did something good.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You didn't. You could have gone apathetic. In fact, I asked a couple of people today, what's the opposite of love? And almost everybody answers, well, it's hate. But I don't think so. I think hate and love are very, very close together. If you're looking at a continuum, and what they really have in common is the expenditure of energy.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes people will put more energy into somebody they hate than look at politics. And I won't say any more than that. I'm gonna hush from there. But I mean, look at politics.
Yeah.
Both sides of the aisle. If we'll put more energy into hating than love. What love and hate have in common is the expenditure of energy, right? But so if we want the opposite then of love, we've got to go all the way down to what is the state of no energy, and it's indifference.
Just I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. That's why if disappointment, it shows that you didn't give in to that indifference or that apathy. There's still they're still carrying there. There's still energy playing.
So if seeing the hungry child makes me angry, and I tried to do something about it, but what I tried to do didn't work, and I was disappointed, then I should be proud of myself because I didn't give in to apathy. I acted and I did something good.
The system's working. Yeah, the system's working. Exactly. So let's say we've covered bitterness, resentment, discomfort, anger, and disappointment. Reuben just passed me a note. He says, David, Carla, you got to hush now. We got to go to break. But he said, when y'all come back, I want to know about guilt, and I want to know about shame and anxiety and sadness. So I guess we gotta do what Reuben tells us.
Reuben's looking perplexed.
Oh, maybe that's another one we'll cover. More strategies to come. Talking about your feelings and my feelings and thoughts and emotions today.
this man called love. I just can't.
Oh, I wish they could hear the conversation that goes on in the commercial breaks, but poor Ruben would probably, have to bleep and bleep and bleep, right?
I would definitely have to put in a call with my FCC buddies and
Yeah.
pull a few strings
You probably would.
to get it on the air.
Yeah, and we're trying to reform Carla. I'm doing the best that I can, Ruben.
You can only do
I
so
can only
much.
do so much. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. We are we're focusing on feelings and thoughts this week on Strategies for Living. Today we are focusing on listening to our emotions, and we've talked about bitterness, resentment, discomfort, anger, disappointment. You came up with one that's not on the list.
Jealousy,
Yeah.
the big green-eyed monster.
Yeah, and we need to add that. We need to add that to this list. What is it pointing us towards?
Well, for me, it was pointing. I may or may not have had an issue with this, but it was pointing. What it told me was that I can't be jealous of someone else's life if I'm fulfilled with my own life.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
for me, it was a prodding to how am I going to make my life more fulfilling? And what was I going to do to live a fulfilled life?
There's where you're pointing. That's again. So all of this is taking the emotion, sitting with it long enough to say, what is this saying to me? You said it yesterday. Poor Ruben jumped when you did the knocking. But all of our emotions, all of it is energy and motion. It's knocking at the door. But I've got to be able to figure out what it's telling me.
Well, and what that meant for me was not instead of saying don't be jealous, don't be jealous, don't be jealous, don't be jealous, was saying I am jealous, and
Yeah.
why am I jealous, and what is it behind this jealousy? And it took me a little while to figure it out
Sure.
because no one wants to admit that they have a jealous, there's something they're jealous about.
Right,
That
right.
sounds so ugly.
Yeah. Well, and it can be. Yeah. It can be like you caught the green-eyed monster.
Yeah.
It got labeled the green-eyed monster for a reason, didn't it?
Yeah.
So guilt. What is guilt pointing us? Where's guilt pointing us? If we listen to it.
It shows you that you're still living life in other people's expectations of what you should do. There we
So
go. There's the should word
there's
again.
The should on. So living your life in other people's expectations and of what you should do. Now again, let's distinguish this because I think this, I would put the adjective in front of this, unhealthy guilt. But that's just me, okay? If they didn't ask me to do the list, but see, to me that's unhealthy guilt.
So there is healthy guilt.
I think so. I think so, and we're gonna talk about the S word, but let's just stay with guilt for a moment. Healthy guilt, quote unquote, healthy guilt, it says, again, if I threw that paper clip at Ruben, and he wasn't expecting it, and I hurt him, it would be healthy for me to feel guilty so that I could go make it right with Ruben, because I don't want to hurt Ruben.
Well,
right?
The only people who don't feel guilt are sociopaths, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone feels guilt.
I would hope so if we're working properly. So that's why I'm saying that's healthy guilt. It means I've done something that to someone that I care about, or that another human being, and just sharing the planet with another human. But we should care for one another. And if I've done something, I need to try to reach out and fix that. And guilt is the energy and motion that says, hey, buddy, you got some work to do here. You've got something to correct. So that to me is healthy guilt. But unhealthy guilt says I'm living life, in somebody else's expectations of how I should be living.
Right.
That's completely unhealthy.
My father wants me to do this, and I'm not, and I feel
Yeah.
guilty, or be this, and I can't, or I
Yeah.
don't want to, so I feel guilty.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people do, we get again, that programming in, you will be a fill in the blank, whatever that
Right.
is. And I work hard and I become a fill in the blank. And it just maybe doesn't fit for me. You know, I find myself, you know,
Unfulfilled.
unfulfilled. Maybe I'm very good at it, and maybe I'm making a lot of money, you know, but it's just, you know, I'm not feeling it. I'm not fulfilled, like you said. It doesn't fill me up. You know. You like the S word. You talk a lot about shame, right?
Because shame is different than guilt, and
Yeah.
and I think this points to that. So shame shows you that you're internalizing other people's beliefs about who you should be or who you are, and that you need to be reconnected with yourself.
Okay. So if I'm
So basically, guilt is I did something bad.
yeah,
Shame is I am bad.
you got it. You got it.
So if I throw something at Ruben and I hit him,
Boy,
and-
we're picking on you.
and
You're
then I
picking on
say-
Ruben tonight.
Are you guys going to bring like a basket of tomatoes tomorrow and just throw them at me while
And
I'm
so-
trying to produce?
Maybe.
I'm getting paranoid.
Maybe.
so then I tell Ruben I'm sorry, but then
Yeah.
I go home and I beat myself up because what kind of person throws something at sweet Ruben?
Yeah.
You're a terrible person. No good person would ever do that.
Yeah.
You know, and then here we go. The emotion
The energy in motion. Here
goes
it goes.
on and on.
Yeah.
You know, because no good person would ever do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what does this say again? Did I say it? Did I read it right?
Yeah. Shame shows you that you're internalizing other people's beliefs about who you should be or who you are, and that you need to reconnect with yourself. So it's again, any of these any of these are they're inviting us to look deeper, and that's what we're talking about: listening, truly listening to the emotion. What about anxiety? Lots of anxiety. Lots of folks have anxiety. That shows you that you need to wake up right now. That you need to be present. That you're living in fear of the future, or you're stuck in the past. You need to come into that big room. You need to come into the present, as we were talking earlier. Yeah.
So worry,
Yeah.
that can turn into anxiety very easily.
Absolutely, it can. Yeah.
So before you may not recognize the emotion as anxiety, but it could be a lot of worry.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're always worrying about what if and what if and what if and how and when, you know, that's the cue. Hey, get back in today.
Right. Right. Come back to the now. Come back to the present. Because, you know, again, it's simple. Again, back to a simple grounding. I ask my clients sometimes I ask myself, am I okay right now? And I take a quick inventory. Well, yeah, I'm breathing. I'm here. You know, I'm not hungry. I'm in the cool air condition, or in the winter, a heated home. You know, I'm out of the rain.
Right.
You know, I'm okay right now.
Well, and sometimes I will start to feel, I don't even know sometimes what it is, anxiety, and I think I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know, and so I sit with it long enough to realize I'm not really anxious. I'm just tired, and I need to sit and be quiet for a little while.
Yeah.
And that's what being in tune with your emotions can let you know.
Yeah. Sadness. Sadness shows you the depth of your feeling, the depth of your care for others and for the world.
So sometimes it's okay to be sad.
We're going to be sad. You know, that people aren't going to always do, and the world's not going to be what we want it to do. We have loss. Loss is something, again, from birth to death.
Right.
Scott Peck says, you know,
It's a series of losses.
Birth to death is a series of things that we have to give up, that series of losses. And yet we don't teach our children how to grieve. Grief is the way that we navigate through that loss. So sadness shows the depth of what you're feeling and in your care for others or the world. We're listening to our emotions tonight, the energy in motion, here on Strategies for Living. And we're throwing stuff at Reuben.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
Just lead us on till we know where we're going. Once more with feeling, once more with feeling. Won't you hold me?
And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Welcome back into Strategies for Living as we tackle energy in motion, emotions, feelings, and
that.
thoughts. And yeah. So how do we sit with the painful emotions? You know, when we fight pain, when we judge it, when we try to push it away, we try to avoid it, ignore it. You know, it doesn't work because it triggers other painful emotions. Always, doesn't it?
Right.
So we need to sit with it. If we do all of that, to try to avoid emotional pain, will cause more pain, and we won't figure out how to cope. Sitting with our emotion just simply means to allow them, and we resist the urge to get rid of the pain, and we don't judge ourselves for having emotions. So we want to observe. You know, we want to tune in. We want to sit with the emotion. What am I experiencing without judging myself? And, you know, this is what I'm feeling. What am I noticing? Can I even notice when I'm starting to judge myself? And, You know, it might be uncomfortable, but I'm okay. I can move through this. Then validate the emotions. Again, feelings aren't right. Feelings aren't wrong. They're just feeling. Validating means you're accepting them, Carla. You don't judge the emotions, thereby triggering extra pain. You accept them. You stay with them. Validating can simply mean, okay, I'm angry. I'm angry with you right now. Let me examine why. What happened, and what is this telling me? You know, is there any of my own baggage that I need to get out of here? And then come back to the present. Focus on the now. Focus, instead of wallowing in whatever the experience is, it's happened already. It's in the past. And so come back to the now, and, you know, without judging ourselves, without judging the person, without judging the situation that is triggered with these feelings, you know, what can I learn from this? That's why we went through the list that we did earlier, because every single one of our emotions, our feelings, have something to tell us, you know, have something to teach us, but we've got to sit with them.
Well, and everything that we do to minimize the pain of and not wanting to feel really only makes it worse.
Yeah, definitely.
And causes new pains.
Good stuff, huh?
I like this show tonight, because this is practical stuff, guys. This is easy stuff to start using and doing
Absolutely.
today.
And we've been presented Strategies for Living Has by CADA, Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana, by Milestones Counseling Center, by Jerry Anderson State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Resilient House, and by Jacob's Well. Inspirational books and gifts, and we thank all of our sponsors for bringing all of us Strategies for Living. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For PLPC Carla McCormick, for Reuben Wright, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time on Strategies.
This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.